You are deserving of happiness. You are deserving of healing. You are deserving of joy.
Whatever your dream is, whatever your passion is, work towards it. And put God first. God has to be in your life.
Wanted to use the skills and the training, hopefully, to advocate on behalf of the community. I'm able to say that on Chop It Up. Be prepared to keep it real.
Hello and welcome to the Chop It Up podcast, the show that's unfiltered and unapologetic. Each episode will bring you closer to finding your purpose, so be sure to listen all the way through. Now, here's your host, Carmisha Superville.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Chop It Up podcast, where real conversation sparks real transformation. Today's guest is someone who truly lives at the intersection of strategy, innovation, and impact. He's a powerhouse in the world of entrepreneurship, a global speaker, event host, and founder and CEO of Moving Forward Small Business. I am talking about none other than Jimmy Newson, also known as the impact influencer. Guys, if you are a business owner, a creator, or an emerging founder, or maybe someone who knows they're meant to make waves, this conversation is your playbook. We're diving into everything from digital transformation to building influence and scaling smart. Grab your notebook and let's chop it up. Mr. Jimmy Newson, how are you?
I am fantastic. It's a pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to definitely chop it up.
Yes. And that we had a really great conversation offline. We were talking about social impact and kind of what that entails. Tell the people a little bit of your story. Who's Jimmy at 14? Give us the background of who you are.
At 14, hyper nerd, very behind on fashion, not the coolest kid on the block, but I was smart, so I had that going for me.
Right.
And at that time, I wasn't out of my shell. Very shy guy, very shy kid. Still shy now, so introverted. But I just had a very logical way of thinking of things, and now I'm more strategic, and there's a huge difference between being logical and being strategic. And it, it that there was a huge transition between those two times. Now, whenever I tried to take on something, I like to say I was very successful at it because I always approached it in a way where I need to learn this, I need to understand this, I need to internalize it, I need to dominate it, and then I need to do it. And so those things became precedent every time I would do something. And then later on in life, I learned how to be cool, but still a nerd, and I embraced them both to the fullest.
I love that. Jimmy, you spoke about strategy, and we were talking earlier about how imperative it is for businesses to have strategy. I want to talk about that. So many times, we are running here and there as business owners, as founders, and we think we have the right strategy in place to grow and to move forward, but we are exhausted or some may feel burnt out. Talk about strategy and how effective it is to implement the right strategy in your business processes.
Yeah, that there's a lot to unpack there, because when people say they're doing strategy, I ask, can I see it? If it's not written down, it does not exist. And the reason why I say that is because you're not the only one that has to follow that strategy. Even if you're a solopreneur, you're still interacting with people that are part of that strategy. Whether you're bringing on freelancers or virtual assistants or anything that allows you to now start to take certain things off of your plate so you can focus more on your business and in your business, it needs to be documented so then other people can stay focused with you. And that always becomes the biggest reason why strategy doesn't work because there is lack of focus. It's not written down. But when you do that, it allows you to start saying no more than saying yes because there's absolutely a lot more things that you can do than there is time to do them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Wow, that's powerful. Give us an example. So I have a small business, as you know. I manage an event firm here in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in the world of event planning, it is different in terms of every client that we interact with. It's a different conversation. What could be my vantage point as strategy to implement and to share with the team? Give me an example. Like, let's make this real life.
Yeah. So in order to make it relevant to you, it always starts from the top down. So the most the toppiest top that you can go for strategy is your vision. Where do you see your company in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? We see ours 25 years from today. Our vision comes true in 25 years. Now, we may hit it before that, or we may even be late by the time 2050 gets here. But that doesn't matter. We have a vision, we have a true north, and now at that point, that becomes the major focus of your entire strategy moving forward. So if you can't articulate to me what the vision of your company is, then you're going everywhere. You're heading in all directions, and it's not just you. Again, let's say you start to expand the company. If everyone doesn't know, well, what's the one thing that is the most important thing to the growth of this company, they're going to assume what they think is the most important thing to your company because you haven't defined it. So the vision is the most important thing. From that vision will become the mission. So if our vision is to be the number one strategic support system for small businesses globally, we address the audience and we also address where we see ourselves by that specific time. Now, if that's how we see ourselves, the mission is how do we get there? So now, how we're going to get to being the number one strategic support system is we need to save 1 million small businesses from failure by 2050, leveraging three things: innovation, technology, and strategy. Now we're laying down the ground rules and the things that are the most important thing to help us all get there. So imagine you start to hire people and they're like, if it doesn't involve innovation, technology, or strategy, we are not headed in the right direction as a group, as a team. And so now, if you bring some things to the table about how we continue to grow, and if it doesn't have those things in that, well, we either need to reevaluate our strategy, or we need to go, that's not for now. And this is how you start to make those decisions of, that's a great idea, but not now. That's an amazing idea. Let's see if we can integrate it tomorrow. And when you
Wow.
have these things in place, one of the biggest things it solves is that when an entrepreneur or small business owner has to start to hire, and the one thing they find difficult doing is letting go. And so when you have these things in place, it's a lot easier to let go because now these components says, here's where we're going, and this is what you have to agree to before you come on board with us.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I love that. Even as you're talking, I'm thinking about what I can start doing differently as well and integrating in my business. I'm curious,
Mhm.
what are three top things you see entrepreneurs making as mistakes when it comes to strategy or even implementing? What are three mistakes?
Yeah, one, lack of a clear documented strategy. So again, if you don't have it documented, it doesn't exist. Two is trying to be everything to everyone. Every time I hear everybody needs my product, I am not interested in working with you
Mm.
because when you try to go for everyone, you get no one. And then the biggest thing I think is ignoring data and customer feedback. We now live in the age of AI technology, and there's a huge opportunity for us to not only get new data, but evaluate the past data, such as websites visits and email opens and feedback through surveys like SurveyMonkey, things like that. All of this is data. And if we can mine that data, we can start to understand how we can improve our products, we can hit our goals faster because these are the top three things I think, you know, or misunderstood when it comes to strategy for a small business.
Wow. Hmm, nice. You saw me. I'm just here pondering and just amazing.
Absolutely. It
Okay.
is. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was going to say, just to really touch on that last one around that data, if you have customers and you haven't spoken to them ever or very little, you're missing a great opportunity to hear why they chose you versus you trying to assume why they chose you.
I agree. I agree. And, for those even thinking sometimes when I send out surveys or not taking myself out the equation, people are so busy in today's society. Sometimes you do send out those surveys and they're non-responsive. And so what do you suggest for a small business owner who wants to collect those data, but they're having a hard time collecting it from past clients or their audience? The
Yeah,
conversation, the feedback is not there.
absolutely. This is where you start to tap into your rock star clients. So what that would mean, so you can do it the easy, quick way where you can try to send out an email and ask everyone, and yeah, you get zero or very few people clicking on it. Look for people who have really been champions of your business and say, hey, can I have 15, 20 minutes of your time and have a real conversation with them? I did this at the beginning of this year because we were looking at an expansion for our big goal for this year. And I ended up speaking to about 6 to 8 uh, members of our community, a couple of our clients, and a couple of my, I speak a lot around the world. And so a couple of the event producers. And I got very specific. I used AI and I created very specific questions to ask them. And so it was about 15 minutes worth of conversation. And I recorded those conversations. And then I was able to edit that down. And now I had testimonials and case studies, which can go an extremely long way. So I didn't need to talk to the entire group. I just wanted to talk to the people that were very pro this company and also have executed on the things that we taught. So again, we're a training program, but we also do services. Now, if you, let's say you're selling clothes or something like that, if you know there's someone who's always buying anything you put out, that's somebody you need to be talking to. And that goes back to that question, that statement I said earlier, where this is an opportunity to be like, I'm not just going to give you a survey with 3 questions. I'm going to, hey, talk to me about what you were doing before you bought my product, why you went on the look for the product, when you got my product, what did that make you feel? Was there feedback? And now you're getting all this incredible insight, this incredible emotion. And again, that one conversation could really spur a lot of new business for you just on that one conversation if levered properly.
All right, Jimmy. So I wanted us to pick up where we left off. And thank you for those mistakes that so many small businesses make.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely right. Let's talk about businesses and limited resources. How do you recommend that we or that businesses prioritize strategic goals with limited resources or access?
Yeah, it's it's really about trying to figure out where is the best bang for my buck. High impact, low initial cost, and it could be things like leveraging free tools. Leveling yourself up. Because at the end of the day, there's always a price. Even when people say, "Well, it's free," well, it's never free. It's either going to cost you financially, or it's going to cost you with sweat equity, and it really depends. At the beginning, when you're trying to start off and you want to save money, you're going to have to learn some things. The more you learn, the easier it can be. If I wasn't a marketer, everything that I do, even to this day, would cost me more.
Mm.
So I learned to be a marketer because, and I read this from, I can't figure out who I need to quote on this, but they're like the 2 things that move the needle after you start the business is marketing and innovation.
Mm.
And I believe that so much. And understand, financing plays a huge role, HR plays a huge role, customer service plays a huge role. But if you can't keep that wheel spinning with marketing and innovating on the product to differentiate yourself from other people, those 2 things can be detrimental to the growth of your organization.
Wow.
So really understanding that and then going, if I had to choose something, where would it be? And not spreading yourself thin. Let's just take social media for an example. You don't have to be on all the channels. I focus primarily all of my resources on LinkedIn. Now I'm on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, but I couldn't care less about any of them. And
Mhm.
I'm just going to be straight up with you. I know my audience is on LinkedIn. It's where I thrive the best. So it's a beautiful marriage, if you will, of me and a social media platform that caters to the way I like to do things, but also my audience is also there.
Right. No, I love that, and that makes sense. So, okay, so talk about solo entrepreneurs, right? Or
Mhm.
micro businesses that have to create impact, being that this conversation is about impact, but with small budgets. What do you think? You spoke about leveraging, right?
Yep.
What are some really grassroots things that we can do right now as micro business to, make more impact in our communities?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, technology is our friend. And for a small business, technology can be a huge component of how you get things done daily. Technology is really advanced over the last few years. And so, from automation to help you create better processes to get things done. Another key element is leveraging yourself as an expert. you know um, if you can really dial into what makes you an expert at this thing that you're building your business around, that can be leveraged to get you in front of more of your target audience. Think about the way you and I met. I was speaking about I had two talks at the New York City public school
Yes.
system, and to me, that's by design.
Yeah.
I targeted that event through a colleague of mine, and I knew they would have my target audience. I already had a relationship with the person who brought me on,
Yeah.
and I asked for very specific things. And then I talked to her a bit about the audience. So I was preparing myself to go, what is going to be my best bang for the buck? I ended up
Mhm.
picking up numerous members, and again, I could have tried to run ads and do all this other stuff, or I can go, what's my favorite strategy? One of my favorite strategies is just speaking in
Yeah.
front of people
Yeah.
and leveraging my expertise, and then letting people from the audience of a group of 50, let five go. That's exactly where I need to be.
Yes, yes, I agree. Wow, I love that strategy and very specific and curated. I love that. You know what? It's funny you said that because I wanted to talk a little bit about thought leadership and you hit it right on the knob. What advice do you have for entrepreneurs such as myself
Hmm.
who want to step into thought leadership and authority?
Yeah, great, amazing thing to do, especially now. The most important thing is, and you may have heard this already, niche down. Get very clear on what you do. One of the biggest, and so I'll use moving forward small business as an example. We have training on all kinds of stuff. I can talk about all kinds of stuff, which sometimes makes it very difficult for people to pinpoint what my expertise is, because it's not necessarily what I say it's what people perceive it to be. And so that's where my moniker came from. My moniker is the impact influencer. I didn't give myself that. Someone else gave that to me because that's what they observed in me. They go, "You help businesses make impact through your," and I go, "Wow, that's not something I would have thought that it was." So sometimes it's great to get feedback from peers, from different people like that. And then when I started, 2 years into moving forward small business, we're struggling to still trying to figure out who we are. And then I was challenged by my board of advisors to really figure out why us. And then one day we realized it's strategy. Everybody talks about Facebook ads and SEO and this and that, and we do too. But I go, what's the one thing we really focus on, no matter what it is? And we realize it's strategy. These big behemoths are not going to sit down and help a small business with strategy. We will. And we're like, ah. And then we really start to dive in deep and go, this is a key thing that really separates us from our competitors. So we said, as much as we like to talk about these other things, we focus on strategy. When someone calls me up, hey, Jim, I love you to speak, I love you to do this, I go, it has to be rooted in strategy. If it's rooted in strategy, I can still venture out into other aspects of digital marketing or finance or human resources, but it's always rooted in strategy. So that is our niche strategy. So when you figure out, well, what is the true, what can I niche down to, then it makes it easier for people to go, this is the person you get to speak to if it's related to this specific thing. Now, you produce content around that. So whether it's blog articles or social media posts or live speaking, we got our first signature event. I have 24 topics I can talk about, but we have one specific event that we try to push the most, and that's our signature event around strategy and a resilient business. Because if we talk there first, we get people that are focused on strategy, focused on alignment around strategy, and because anybody else, we have to get them into strategy from where they came from. We don't want to do that. It's too much work for us.
Got it. Wow. So you have a signature event that you will be hiring me to produce.
There we go.
Since you're talking strategy and alignment. No, but I love that.
Absolutely.
When is that signature event?
Well, we do it all the time. It's already an ongoing thing, and it's a talk, not necessarily an event.
An event.
So because that's one of our strategies for this year is podcast. Hence, we're on here, speaking. So live stages, strategic partnerships. We're targeting organizations that want to leverage strategy on behalf of their members. So that's what we bring to the table because, quote unquote, we're the experts.
Yeah.
Again, authority. So we're building that authority around that. So it's a no-brainer for them. And then we have so much content on it when they do their research on us. They're like, these guys are obviously on top of the strategy. Yeah, because no one, and again, we already know that we stand out specifically for that. If we talk about Facebook ads, well, there's a ton of people speaking about Facebook ads, and some are even better than us.
Right.
So at that point, we had to choose a lane. So when we talk about building your authority, as whoever's listening to this, what is that one thing that you can sell in the middle of a snowstorm and it has ice in it?
Okay.
So, yeah, just getting that, if you get that clarity, you'll start. And we didn't move as fast as we're moving pretty fast. We didn't move this fast when we didn't have this clarity.
Amazing. I'm wondering, how long did it take you to get this clear about the business? Like the time frame, 5 years, 7 years?
I'd say about a year.
Okay.
And that's because we were trying. So I'll give you, so in 2020, we started moving forward small business. In 2022, I formed my advisory board. And so between 2022 and 2023, they challenged me. So within that year was really, they were like, yeah, we get what you're trying to do. It's exciting. You're helping businesses, but why? What is it that makes you special? And it took me forever to wrap my head around, what are you asking me? I think I've told you everything I could possibly tell you. And at the end of the day, if the people closest to you still have questions, you are still not clear enough.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, Jimmy, let's move on to digital, because you spoke earlier about it. Digital transformation and innovation, big conversation, artificial intelligence, AI, all that good stuff. What does digital transformation really mean for small businesses? I know you talk a lot about it when we met at that conference, and I was still a little bit perplexed. What does it really mean for a small business, and where should we start, or where should they start?
Absolutely. So yeah, this one for small businesses are starting to come around to digital transformation, and it's some people think it's about adopting new technology, and it's kind of like that, but it's more about becoming more efficient, more customer centric, and more competitive in a digital world. So it's really about taking what already exists and going, how do I digitize it? So prime example, if you're still using spreadsheets, you are not taking this to the next level, because spreadsheets you could leverage it through, say, Google Sheets, but it's still a rudimentary way of looking at things. You need to be leveraging the next level. How can I make this more how could I take this to the next level? And because it's not only are you trying to access it, but you want to make sure everyone else can access it as well. Okay. Leveraging a CRM. I still know a ton of people who are not using CRMs, and I'm like, there's tons of data. If you're communicating with, whether it's clients or it's handful of clients or a ton of customers. It's how can you take an existing system and integrate technology into it and make it easier, make it, so let's say I'm a salesperson for you, and then if we're leveraging a CRM and I leave your business, I don't take every conversation I've ever had with the clients, and now the new person's like, I don't know where to start. They just step right in, get right into the CRM, and they can see the history.
I see.
They can communicate. Again, documents are connected to it. Phone calls have been connected to it. Emails have been connected to it. You can not talk to that customer for 6 months and then go through that, look at their account, and be caught up in like 2 minutes. So these are little things that you implement, but you're not going and upending your whole system. You're just going, what in my existing system can I digitize?
Wow. Jimmy, you're so smart. I need your brain.
And this is years of understanding this. And again, and then if I don't know this, I'm not a strategy aligned professional. And that's what we call our members, strategy aligned professionals. We have to warn them in advance. This is a mind shift. And it will sound like a different language to you at the beginning, but the more you do it, the next statement will come out of your mouth is, how did I not do this before?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, top 3 CRMs, real quick. I know Monday, Salesforce. What are some ones that you suggest?
Yeah,
or recommend?
and this is biased. I'm a HubSpotter.
Okay.
If anybody knows what that is, I'm an
Right.
inbound guy. So HubSpot to me is number one. And then as far as I'm concerned, everything else is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Couldn't care. That
Right.
doesn't mean that they're not good. You got Salesforce, you got Pipedrive, you got high level. I mean, there's some amazing platforms. Monday.com, has a CRM component. Even ActiveCampaign has a CRM component. It's really about, when people go, well, what tool should I use? I go 2 things. One, are you already using a tool that has the ability to be a CRM? If not, 2, when you do decide to choose a tool, does it integrate with the existing tools you have? Because if it does, it allows you to integrate it in through whether a direct, whether an API, or it has a direct integration in certain tools, so you're not doing double data entry.
Right.
But if you've never used a CRM, I always suggest HubSpot first. And why do I suggest HubSpot? Because the CRM is free for life.
Oh, okay.
So, the other ones can have a price to it, but they don't hold anything back on the CRM in the free version. Now, that doesn't mean they're not making any money, because they make their money because they want you to upgrade to their sales component or their marketing component. But the CRM in itself is a massive tool even without those things. It's just now you graduate. So you start using it just so you get used to the system, you get used to the tool, and now you're going, you know what, I could leverage some sales components in my CRM. This is great, so let me do that. Or I might leverage some marketing stuff. And HubSpot can be a bit pricey when you start adding those things in there. So you might, at that point, either move over to another system, or you've generated enough revenue where it pays for itself.
Yeah, I love that. And you kind of answer my follow-up question. So that's pretty good. So you would suggest for an entrepreneur, in terms of the low cost digital tools, platforms, HubSpot, what else? MailChimp. What else would you kind of low
MailChimp, I
budget?
think, MailChimp is a great tool. If you're doing email marketing, you can get started with a free account gives you up to 500 contacts, and we call that freemium. Some of these tools that have a free version that you can eventually upgrade to or grow into. And it's really about testing them out, because that becomes the biggest thing. If you don't test the tools out as an owner, then you're not really sure what you're getting. So this is where, if you've got the time, invest the time in, jumping on a few of their webinars, setting up that call, because a lot of these tools will say, hey, we want to give you a 30-minute free consultation to walk you through the tool. Do that.
Yes.
So you can understand it. You don't have to be the one eventually doing all the work, but you do need to understand it as the founder, so you know when people are doing the right thing by you or not.
I love that. I love that. All right. Audience-centered question. What are 3 or maybe 1 powerful actions our listeners can take today to move their business forward? Just due to time constraint, you can give 1, or if you want to give 3 short ones. What could businesses do today to take their business forward,
Sure.
action-wise?
I'm going to give you the one. It's really to identify your ideal customer's number one pain. Again, going back to that statement I said earlier that when someone says everyone's my client, I run, get clear on that one ideal customer and that one pain point, because those two things alone can be extremely powerful for you to get clarity around a message that should resonate with a very specific group of people. And when you're able to do that, let's say you want to start speaking in order to get new clients. If you know who that ideal target client is and that ideal pain point, you can use that to start to figure out where should I be speaking. And the objective here is the more focus you can get around that, the higher your conversion rate is when you're in front of that group, that very specific group of people. So don't try to get everybody in the room. Figure out, like I do a lot of survey questions. I'm sure I did it when I was live with you guys. I have a very specific question I like to ask, if especially when I know the audience, and that's me gauging how many of these people could actually be my client.
Yes.
And I see half the hands go up. Well, now I know 50% I have a 50% potential close rate off the bat. Versus I want to, how many of the entire room can I close? No.
Right.
Get me very, very clear. Here's a problem I solve, and here's who I can solve it for. And then when they blast your message out, you just sit back and you just do your thing and be very clear on that. So that's really one of the first things. When people can't describe to me who their exact customer is and the exact pain point they solve for that customer, again, that is a massive issue in order for you to even bring a person like me on board to help you generate leads, get more exposure, build your brand.
Yeah, I love that. And you're right, because I think that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to learn more about you. And I went to research you because I love your perspective, and it really stands out. So that says a lot. All right. Well, Jimmy, this conversation is so powerful. I have some rapid questions that I want to ask you.
Okay.
More for our audience. It's this episode is entitled From Hustle to Higher Purpose.
Yep.
Why impact is a real flex. Talk about how should we mind shift that behavior of feeling burdened.
It goes, to me, it goes back to that clarity. Understand who you serve, purpose, where are we trying to go as an organization? Why do we exist? Where are we trying to go? Who do we help? And when we're figuring that out, when we got a very clear understanding of what that is, then we can ask ourselves, well, what do we need to do that? And limit ourselves. I think one of the first things I asked you, the group, when we were in the class, I go, everybody in the room, I think we went around the room, I said, and I'm not sure which class you were in, so you may have been in this one or not. I said, what's the one thing you want to achieve by the end of this year? And everybody, I don't know, were you in that? Was that the group you were in?
I don't believe I was, no.
Okay, so this one was the strategy one. And I asked that. And so everybody went around the room and said the one thing they want to do by the end of 2025. And then my next question was, based on everything you've been doing before you stepped in this class, does it help you get to that one point? And over 70% of the people said no.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? That tells you we're busy doing things that are not based on what we really thought we wanted. And so that's why I say, if we can get clear, so you can ask that one single question and go, what is the one thing? Like for moving forward small business, we have one major goal this year, and that's to get to 5,000 members. So I get calls all the time. Hey, I want to partner with you on this. I want to partner with that. My mind goes, I'm open to listening, but I got to go, how does that help me get 5,000 members? And they'll go, well, right now, it doesn't really do that. And I go, stop you right there. Great idea. I love to do it, but it can't. Not right now. I have a very, very specific focus. And if I hit that number, I've generated a very specific amount of revenue. I can look at my sponsorships and advertising strategies that I want to initiate with this partner, and this partner. I will have I can send out more surveys specific to this group because this is how we advertise and we got them in. So I've already got a system in place based on that one very specific goal, and nothing on this planet is going to stop me from getting it. Now, I still may not hit it, but nothing's going to stop me from not trying.
Wow, powerful. Well, on that note, I just want to thank you for being here with me.
It's all good. But this is
Thank
this
you.
this falls on the line
Yes.
of that. I get to talk about strategy,
Yes.
impact. So understand this. It was I when I got it, I did my research. I'm looking at this, going, does this make sense? Does it align? Does it fit? Absolutely. Boom, I'm there. You know, and
Wow.
and strategy is all about helping you make decisions that make sense.
Yeah. Wow, Jimmy. Okay. So, what was the moment or experience that shifted you from grinding for success to living with intentionality? What was that moment? I mean, I don't feel like you ever actually grinded, but
Oh no, I actually did. I was definitely, and this is the thing, I was one of those guys, and you know that the entrepreneur that had 17 side hustles. Okay. And that's what we think grinding is. Oh, I got, again, I came from the music industry. So I was in the band. I had a record label. I had the recording studio. I had, I was doing different things and helping different people out. So extremely busy. But when I stop working on one to work on the other, what happens to that one? Nothing. It stays steady. So we are busy doing very little. Let me rephrase that. We're very busy, but the progress bar doesn't move because we're too busy bouncing, And I learned this lesson from one of my mentors. I don't know if you've ever heard of a restaurant called Fuddruckers. It's a southern restaurant and very big restaurant chain.
where
And
is it located? Like Midwest, in the
somewhere
South?
throughout the South. From
So,
I was in Florida for a little while. I think there may have been one there. I know they're in Texas. They're in other parts. So definitely a South thing.
South thing, yeah.
And when he was interviewing my mentor was interviewing the founder. He was like, "Hey, what happened to that one great thing you were going to do?" He goes, "I didn't do it." He goes, "Dude, it was like a multi-million-dollar great idea." He goes, "Couldn't find the right person to do it." That
Mm,
was the key. What he was saying was, I can still, as an entrepreneur, we want all these side hustles and we want to look big. He goes, but that's not how you make it. He goes, you can come up with a great idea, but now you need to put a team in place. And if that team is you, well, you're now extending your reach more and more, and you're diluting yourself.
mm,
And so if I want to have a record label and the recording studio and be the artist, well, I need other people to put people in place, and they need to be paid. And
yes.
so they're the right people for that job, and they can build that up. And so and so for us, we tend to put way much on our plate, too much on our plate, and not enough accountability to get it done. And that
Mm,
was a key moment for me. And so when after the second year of having moving forward small business, I eliminated everything,
wow.
all side things. I'm doing this little software thing over here, and I got this other thing with my boy, and we doing some stuff. All of it ceased. And the
Mm,
moment I did that and said, "Here's the focus. Here's where we're going," I went from this speed to this speed, because now every ounce of me is headed in the same direction.
powerful. Wow. Do you at least have passion projects though, like outside of work and focus
Yeah,
driven,
and again, that you can have passion projects, but the question becomes, where is your time being spent? And I should say professionally, or what
Mhm.
have you. Uh, if you have people in place to run those projects, then yeah. Like
Mhm.
I have programs that I run with um, SaaS companies and nonprofits and even universities. I'm working on a project there, but again, it all comes back to the community I help, the community I support, and so that is by design. And so it still feels like I'm doing a lot of different things, but they all still come back to this one thing. I support small businesses. Doesn't matter. That is
Absolutely.
so that becomes key. And there might be a chance that they might become members. I would prefer that the most, but if it doesn't happen that way, I'm kind of fine with it. But I think the biggest thing is, once you make your money and you build the business of your dreams, you can still do other side stuff. You can just be a silent investor, Or you can lend, I'm on a couple of boards. I'm on these other things. So I'm doing charity stuff. I belong, the reason why I was doing the thing with the New York public school system, because I'm on the New York City board of business and finance. So I'm on that board. So I still give back,
Right.
but it's tied to an organization that also supports small businesses. So that I still win.
Yes, yes. No, it makes sense. Alignment, purpose, strategic strategy. It makes a lot of sense. I love that. How do you really quickly, I think you've answered that already, but
Mhm.
how do you define purpose now compared to when you first started? Like, how do you define it? One word or,
How do I define? I define purpose as alignment.
mm, mm, yeah.
So that would be, if I had to do one word, that is it. Because when you're in alignment, then you have to be doing things that are based on what you have laid out. You're living it.
Mm, love that. All right, let's shift gears to redefining success and impact.
Okay.
Now, can you share a moment when you realized your work was truly making a difference?
Yeah. My customers, my members. When you Two things. One, when they are telling you how grateful they are that you came into their life, when they're paying you, you're doing something right. And two, when I started using them as the ability to get in a better mood. And what I mean by that, I could be, it doesn't matter how successful you are, you're going to be in a bad mood. And things happen, and you're like, I don't want to get up today because I had a really horrible day yesterday. And I hate mornings. So I'll tell you that right up now. So one of the best things to get me in a great mood is to talk to a customer.
Mm,
So I'll schedule a meeting at a horrible time of the morning, and by the time I get off that call, I'm in a great mood because there's something about that puts me into great mood. And so these knowing this is what really makes my day.
wow, that's beautiful. And so that leads me to a question. What's the difference between being successful and being significant in your eyes?
Absolutely. To me, I think being successful is self-serving. Being significant is about how someone else feels about you.
Mm.
And, and,
Which,
and go ahead.
oh God.
And I thought about that a little bit, but I think when you're significant, somebody else has to think that, or has to at least validate it. If you're successful, it's because you decided, if I hit this certain amount of money, I'm now considered successful. You made that decision.
Mm.
So significant, to me, is way much better because you can't be significant without others' input.
Right, right. So you think that one holds more weight?
I actually think not that there's nothing wrong with wanting to being successful. I just call success milestones.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. I love that. All right, let's move into faith, alignment, and legacy. I always ask my guests when we're wrapping up about legacy and what does that look like. How do you stay aligned with your purpose when the world still praises hustle culture? How do you stay aligned?
I don't listen.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, it's almost like the popular person is you see that popular person walking down the hallway and everybody's following them. I'm not one of those. I march to my own drum, and that drum now has a purpose to it. And
Mm,
so it is trying to break away from peer pressure. And it's okay to follow people when they have a good message and you believe it, but at the end of the day, don't get too caught up in it. you know, you know why you're put there. And so a prime example is when I got to New York, from coming from Florida back in '96, so a long time ago. I started working for this entertainment company, and so I went from being the top in Florida to back down to the bottom, working my way up. And so, of course, you've got your key players there. And so when I came in, everybody's trying to get me under their team. Oh, you're going to be under our team, and I'm like, I'm not going to be under anybody's team. I'm going to
mm,
understand what's going on, and I will figure out where I fit.
yes.
So you really have to adopt that, and you got to feel confident about it. Not that you got to be arrogant, but you got to be. I serve the people, and I knew that, and so and when I say that, I mean it by in a way where you could be working in a situation, and people don't want you to be your best because you're making certain other people look bad. If you've ever heard that,
I've heard
and
that.
I've heard that, and they're like, you're working too hard, you're making us all look bad. Then step up your game. I
Yeah.
didn't come here to play,
Right. Right.
and it takes a lot to buck the system.
Yeah.
So for me, it is really about just when it comes to alignment and legacy and faith, I'm like I have to be the best that I can be, even if it's the unpopular thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Jimmy, so many of us are stuck in this hustle mentality, especially if you live in New York. I feel like it's a different beast altogether.
Hmm.
Even as I'm speaking to you, right? What advice or, what would you say to an entrepreneur that has a higher calling, but they're stuck in this hustle grind? I gotta get the next customer, right? What would you say to someone like that or that mindset?
I'd say stop.
Mhm.
That's it. My best time is when I'm doing nothing.
Mm.
I clear my mind and I get time to think. When you don't take time to reset, then you can't see, because here's the grass and this is you. You have to stop. Let me get a ladder, place it, climb up the ladder and look. And there from there make go, okay, I can see things, I can breathe, I can, you know if you're jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, then you don't get time to go, is this where I need to go? Because you might be, and you may have seen these commercials, I mean, or these graphics, or these cartoons where the person is he got the pick, and they're in the cave, and they stop, and they're literally this far from breaking through, and
Mm.
they never knew. So the question becomes, if you're going to commit to something, give it time, because I think we're caught in this world where everybody wants instant gratification, and you got to go, like, if I where moving forward is right now is not where I planned it to be 4 years ago. It has evolved, it has moved, and I've had people go, is it, are you sure this is the path? And I'm like, I have, what the validation is, the feedback you get, the positive reinforcement from clients, customers, and clients. If you're getting no customers, you're getting no clients, you're getting nothing done, then you might have to go, maybe this is not the right thing. But if you are, and people are praising this and loving that what you're doing for whoever you're helping, then that could be kind of a litmus test that, okay, I am on the right path. Maybe I should give this a little bit more time, but then being realistic about, is can I make money with this? Can I build a business from this? And if I can, what does that look like? So now you start again, going back to your strategy, going back to your business plan, and going, what is it that I'm selling? Is it a situation where the market is saturated and I don't do enough to differentiate my product from my competitors? And so there's a lot of moving components. That's why I say the one thing that you can do is just stop, and try to figure out, how can I evaluate this better before I move forward.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And potentially hire you as well. I'm curious. Do you work with corporations as well, or just small businesses?
Um, it depends.
It depends.
It's I've been hired by to come in, and I've trained teams, sales teams of 9 and 10 for bigger organizations. Um, it really depends. Like, if I can repurpose the content for my small business community, I look for dual purpose. I look
Right,
for
right.
repurposing strategies, and sometimes that having that brand name could be a great thing to add to, either the list of clients we've helped, or again, if I can get something out of it that I can leverage in a different way, because those are part of the experiences. We have a lot of people that come from corporate that try to go into the entrepreneurial life, and the entrepreneurial people that get tired of being entrepreneurs and try to go into the corporate life, and they don't play well together.
Ooh.
So I ride I ride the tightrope on that, so I understand both, which puts me in a very unique position to go, all right, if you're going to go this way, you need to reevaluate this, and if you're going to go this way, there's a lot more things that you think that I'm pretty sure you don't.
Yeah, Jimmy, wow, you are invaluable. You are invaluable. I'm so blessed to have met you. All right, so we're gonna close off. You know, I could ask you more questions, but I'm not.
Well, I could be. Like I told you at the beginning, I love this. I could be here all day.
All right, so I'm gonna ask you one more, and then we're gonna close off. Or
Okay.
two more.
All right, go for it.
I'm actually curious, right? You know, as you're talking, and we've been talking for the last hour, what's one thing you had to unlearn to move forward in your purpose? One thing.
That's a good question. I'd say the one thing I had to unlearn was that I had to know it to do it. I I now jump in head first on things. Now I still have to believe to some degree I can do it, but I have much more confidence that I can figure it out, and it's not going to be that difficult to do.
Right.
So I'm less afraid of the what ifs. And again, that's probably the entrepreneur in me that has really developed, because when you come from corporate, you really want a lot of validation before you'll do anything, because it's always your job on the line. But
Yeah.
so for me, it's just I want to do something. I'm going to figure it out.
I
And
love
before I
that.
didn't have that confidence, and now I'm like, it. I don't want to say it works itself out, because it takes effort, and I'm willing to put in that effort.
Yeah. I love that. Makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. All right, final question.
Hmm.
You know, this conversation is about flexing and impact. So,
Hmm.
what does the real flex mean to you now, and how has it evolved?
To me, a real flex is impact. It is the actual word, or the actual thing of impact. And impact to me is all about the people that you serve. If you're going to make an impact, there from there, so much happens, and that's where, it's never about the product, it's never about the service, it's about the impact based on the people you serve. And when you can make a massive impact, the spin-offs are limitless. So to me, it's impact. And when I make that, and which is why I became the impact influencer. And again, it wasn't the name that I gave; it was what somebody realized what I did for people. They're like, you really helped them make an impact, and they were like, and I went through a number of iterations of this moniker that I have. Now I leaned into it because it now also becomes a key component of my brand. And it
Mm,
also, so no matter where there's news or whether it's anything, people go, what does that mean? So immediately I got them hooked.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I hope that
Jimmy.
answered the question.
It did. It did, man. I just want to thank you so much. Wow. You have any final thoughts as we wrap up for the listeners? Any insights that you'd like to
Yeah,
provide?
I just say we talked about a lot of stuff. At the end of the day, if it's going to be focused on, there you have two brands. If you happen to be the owner or founder of this organization, the two brands are the organization and you. uh, you are just as important as the brand. And if you can leverage the two or build on both of those, you're going to be surprised, because I'll lead sometimes with Jimmy Newson, the impact influencer, and other times I'll lead with moving forward small business, because they both bring two different things to a potential opportunity. So
Mm,
think of yourself as the brand just as well as your organization.
I love that. Whew, what a masterclass. Huge thank you to our special guest, Jimmy Newson. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Thank you for pulling back the curtain on what it really takes to grow and sustain a small business in today's world. Your strategy and innovation and making a meaningful impact are exactly what we need in this season. All right. We'll put all his information towards the end. And of course, guys, if you love this episode, which I know you do, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with another entrepreneur who needs this kind of energy in their life. Once again, guys, until next time, keep pushing, keep building, and keep making that impact. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye, you guys.
Take care, everyone.